Hi, I was setting up this computer, which is supposed to be without operating system or technically with FreeDOS installed, but not with any Windows or Linux. I was noticing that here in the boot menu, as you can see, it says there is another, in quote marks, operating system, HP Documents. So it sounds like they are required to deliver some user manual or something with the computer, and it's probably easier and cheaper to store it on the computer instead of printing it. But without an operating system, it's a bit hard to do that, so they did install one, which appears to be, if we boot from it, some kind of Linux. But it's some sort of kiosk mode, which only displays this browser. Now, how can we break that? How can we escape from something like that? I was playing around a bit, and first of all, I tried, of course, can I close the tab? Well, obviously I can't. Well, even before that, can I push Control Alt F1 or F2 or any other F key to go to one of the other virtual terminals? No, that doesn't work. I tried various key combinations, so I didn't find anything that I can do with some sort of shortcut key. But let's see if we can escape from this browser through the browser somehow. So what can we do? Well, we see this is a file URL, and here is a number of links. And I also tried, of course, what happens if I open a new tab? Well, I get an empty tab. But since there is no address bar, that's not too useful. This arrow over here, by the way, is just a list of open tabs. But then, of course, I tried right-clicking on various things. So on the tab, there is only Reload tab and Pin as App tab. When I open a new tab and right-click that one, I get a few other options like Move to New Window, which just opens another full-screen window, and Bookmark All Tabs, which actually shows me that this is Firefox. I mean, it was obvious before, probably, but here it's very obvious. But I can't really do anything here. I can't access anything else from this menu. And as you can see, it can open dialogues, but they have no window Chrome, so there is no border, no buttons, no nothing, because there seems to be no window manager running, just Firefox directly inside the X server. But when I right-click anything, there is an interesting option, Inspect Elements, so it seems this hasn't been removed. If we go to Inspect Elements, there is not much that we can do. It's not a full developer tools, but we can view the HTML. I mean, we cannot really right-click anything here, so I can't really even change the contents. But what I can do is I can double-click on some attributes, and I actually can make them editable, like the href. So the first thing we could try is there is something even before that. We could try if we put the JavaScript URL here, if it works, just to check. I'm just going to put an alert 1 here for the moment and see what happens if I now click the link. Well, sure enough, it works. But with JavaScript, it's alone. There may be some way to exploit this, but it's probably easier to go another route. I then tried if I can basically open an arbitrary URL by changing the href here. I then tried, well, why doesn't it let me double click now? Oh, okay, now it works. I then tried, of course, a file URL. So let's put file // and see if we get a listing of the root directory. Yeah, we get a warning, but afterwards, yeah, we do. So that's nice. Well, I did try from here to see if I can just basically download, in quote marks, bash and start it, but it seems like I can't download any files. Probably this user, I mean, I'm not sure, maybe this user doesn't even have access to the temp directory, or the temp directory doesn't exist, or something like that, I guess. But I can't really do much from here. But then I had one more idea. Because what other options do we have to launch something from inside the browser other than executing a download? Just through links. Well, we could use some other protocol that's not file and not HTTP, by the way, HTTP of course doesn't work because this system is not connected to the internet in any way. But anyway, so what can we do? We can use some other protocol, and the first one that came to mind for me was mail2, because it would normally open the default mail program, and there's probably none installed here, I guess. Or if there is, well, if there is, it will open the mail, and then we will have many more options inside there to see what we can do. But my goal here is actually to open some sort of well, I need something to run and to execute a new process. So if we get some sort of a file listing that we can maybe actually run something from or anything like that, it would be great. So I tried mail2, and voila, we get this. So it seems there is no mail application installed. I mean, I expected that much. So the options we see here are online mailing services, but we have chosen application, and now that's the jackpot, because we now have a file listing. I mean, we cannot really open anything from here, unfortunately, it turns out, but what we can do is we can try and run the program, because it's going to it allows us to select which application should open the mail2 link. So it will run the application and pass the mail2 link in the command line. And actually I tried bin bash first, but it doesn't really do anything, because probably I would need a terminal first. So or maybe it did do something, but it doesn't work because I passed in the mail2 link actually. So what we can do instead is we can look if there is some sort of terminal emulator or anything else that we can run. I was first looking for Xterm, because that's basically on almost every machine that runs the X server has Xterm installed as well. So it's in USR bin, and there is many things in here, but let's look for Xterm, and sure enough, there it is, Xterm. So let's select that and say we want to open our mail2 link with Xterm. Let's do that. And there we are. We have a shell, and it's even a root shell. So probably my thought of this user not being able to access the temp directory is not right. I'm not sure what was the case before with the download, but anyway, now we have a shell. It's a little bit hard to see here on the camera, but yeah, sure enough, it's a shell. And let's see. There is some sort of configuration stuff, and actually if we look at what is running on this machine, we can see the interesting stuff here. It seems like the way it works is it starts the X server and then runs this pb.sh script, although I'm not sure right now why it runs it 3 times, but anyway, it does that. It runs a window manager dwm.web unclutter, which removes the mouse cursor unless you move it, and then it starts Firefox, or actually Iceweasel, with this URL. Oh, and well, it seems it actually runs dhclient, so I didn't expect that. So it looks like if we would have an Ethernet connection, which by the way would need an external dongle because this computer doesn't have an Ethernet port, then maybe we could also use networking. Anyway, we see that this is the process we just ran, Xterm with the command line of mail2 x at x.x, which was the link that I wrote. I mean, it doesn't really have any effect on Xterm, so it just ignores this additional argument, and we got our terminal. Now, we still don't really have any really usable user interface here, because the window manager is basically doesn't have any actual UI and doesn't put any borders and stuff around Windows. But well, we have a shell, so we could, in combination with either a USB stick or this or an Ethernet connection, install new stuff and basically just take over this whole thing. I mean, of course, there is a chance that this is sort of like a RAM disk and it's read-only, but nonetheless, I think it's an interesting exercise. Actually, let's see. I mean, actually, let's see what mount points we have, so that could give us a clue. Okay, live image. It seems there is an image mounted as, but there are some, okay, so yeah, the root seems to be some sort of a RAM disk, I believe, but there is something mounted, so the actual HP docs and the other thing, live image, whatever that actually is. Well, the image thing is mounted read only. I mean, we could try see if we can change that, but the HP docs is actually mounted read write. So we would have some place where we could do persistent stuff on. Anyway, this was just a fun try to get access to this Linux system, since it got me curious what is behind this when I saw the boot manager entry HP documents. I hope it was interesting. I almost forgot to show you what's in these script files actually, like the script that apparently starts everything. It seems to be pb persistent browser. Keep the browser running and clean between sessions in webc, whatever webc is. I mean, I know that's the username. I mean, actually, we are root, but it's the home directory. By Henry at webconverger.com, so that's webc apparently. Yeah, so what it does, it disables the bell sound, sets a white background, sets the window manager, hides the cursor, we saw that before. Stop app users breaking the loop to restart the exited browser. Well, it doesn't stop app users to breaking the browser so that we can run something else. And okay, and it seems like after a while of that nothing happens, the whole browser is getting resetted. So yeah, it's a kiosk script basically. Right. So this is the background. The HP background is that's the bg.png, and no screen blanking warning might limit the lifespan of your screen and world. I'm not sure how that impacts my world or what that's supposed to mean. Maybe it's an expression that I don't know. Yeah, and here everything is getting cleared and the browser is getting restarted every time that it's closed. That's that. Now let's have a look at the other files that we saw here. There is also the iw chrome config sh and iw close config sh. Okay, so that I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to do. Okay, I see. So so this controls, so this is basically a CSS file that is I see, this is part of the browser itself essentially. So the CSS file is loaded in the browser Chrome. I mean, not Chrome as the Chrome browser, but the UI elements of the Iceweasel browser. So this is what's hiding the URL bar and stuff. So that's why the interface is pretty cut down, but a few things like the inspect elements still worked. So if you want to do a kiosk, then make sure to test it by right-clicking on everything that you can, dragging everything that you can, and especially thinking about what kind of dialogues could I open. Actually, here it's even if I wouldn't have been able to enter a mail to URL directly, if, for example, if I would have had some other way to get internet access somehow, because there is a help link or something, and I could find a way somehow to get to Google or something similar through that, then I could have searched and eventually found a mail to link or whatever. So I mean, that's assuming that it works if I just connect Ethernet dongle here. Now let's see what the other file does. Not entirely sure. It seems to do something with the close buttons of the tabs, but I don't understand it entirely. Anyway, these are the files in there. I thought that could be interesting to see as well. So yeah, I hope in general this was interesting. I just enjoy this sort of thing. If you give me any kiosk, anything that is supposed to be limited in some way, I will try and find a way to break it and open a shell, or in case of Windows, open well, something. I mean, can also be a shell, but could also be something like Device Manager, or some Windows Explorer, or something. You know, it's just too much fun. I mean, there was especially on the Windows kiosks, there was a trick that worked for a long time on many public kiosks. That was going into the accessibility settings by pressing Shift, I think 5 times, and then going to the settings in this confirmation box. I think it normally enables some sort of accessibility thing, and then from there you could do some stuff. I mean, it's especially as a child, I enjoy it. I enjoy that, like, mess. When I say messing up, I don't mean destroy. Like, just like make them a little bit weird. Like, go to public kiosks if I find them somewhere and make them interesting in some way. Like putting the whole screen into high contrast mode, um, or I don't know, modifying the website that's displayed to show, I don't know, a nyan cat going through the screen, or things like that. Not really causing harm, but it's just I found it fun back then, at least, and it's still. I mean, now I don't. I mean, I don't usually mess anything up anymore. I mean, sometimes I do, but I will at least try and find a way to get there and be at least able to do this sort of thing, because it's fun.